Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Those Two Geeks. He's Alex, I'm Joe. We're coming at you, well, you don't know, but we're coming at you from a Monday night, which is outside our wheelhouse, and we are just doing an impromptu show because Alex is being, Mr. Fancy, and he's jet setting down to Orlando again this week to go to Galaxy's Edge. So we figured we'd get on the horn, toot it a little bit, and, see what's what.
Yeah, well, that's just it. We like to make sure we give the 10 of you that listen something to listen to. I don't know if there's 10 of you that listen, and if there is, I appreciate it.
There's more than 10. There's more than 10.
I know. I think I need to stop making the joke that no one listens to us because
it was a joke, but until we saw the numbers one time.
You saw the numbers, and I never wanted to know what it was. Yeah,
I was floored. So thank you everyone who does put up with our nonsense.
So, but before you go to, I actually met a listener the other day.
Did you? No shit.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to react to that. It was the strangest feeling for me. But hi, Steve. Hope you're doing well.
How did you meet a listener? Let's launch into that.
It's not actually as fun as you think it would be. So I actually worked with Steve in 20 some years ago. And then we recently, lost touch, and then he looked me up and said, "Hey, are you interested in hanging out?" Basically, so we did.
Oh, nice.
I mentioned that I do this with you, and that was the end of it. He said, "Oh, where is it?" And I told him where it was, and never thought anything more of it. And and I saw him and his cousin not long ago, and I was talking to him and his cousin, and I had the hat on. And his cousin asked about it, and Steve's, "Oh yeah, it's his podcast. It's on Spotify. It's on SoundCloud." I'm like, "It's also on Spotify." Wait, do you listen to us?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." And then we were talking about it. So, it was a surreal moment.
That's pretty cool.
So that was that.
I gotta be honest, that's really cool. But so the topic tonight, since we don't have a topic, but that's how we always roll.
Well, that's not true. We did say last week.
That's true.
We talk about, because you said you were going to a shop that was very 80s,
that's right.
Very 80s toy shop run by an ex-wrestler.
Yeah, no, it's a current wrestler.
Okay,
he's an indie wrestler who I know pretty well. His name's Teddy Goods. He's been on AEW a couple times. But he works with me when we work the Fenway shows in Boston.
Oh, okay.
And he's part of the Bell Time Club. And shout out Dante Luna, shout out Bo Douglas, all that crew, good stuff. My other podcast mate, Donnell Haynes, Big Time Donnie, who we've had that interplanetary crossover before, which is pretty rad. So we went. I've been meaning to go to this guy's toy shop for about 2 or 3 years now. And every time I mean to go, something comes up. And it's literally like 15, 20 minutes away, I found out. I couldn't believe how close it was. And so I've been waiting for my other buddy, Derek, who is a huge avid Motu collector. And so this thing has a Castle Grayskull motif that I showed you.
Yeah. So what's the name of the toy store?
It's Kojo's Toy World in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Now, New Bedford, Massachusetts is definitely not any type of destination hotspot or location, but I was very impressed with this area. I went to 2 places, actually. I went to the toy show, and then toy shop, and then I went to an arcade/food bar right down the street called Play Now, and both were pretty fucking cool. But let's just launch into Kojo's. Kojo's I've been meaning to go for a while. I'm getting back into collecting wrestling figures. It's a little bit of a dangerous game because I got out of it about 4 years ago. And now I'm like, oh, man. I picked up a couple Ultimates, WWE Ultimates. And I was like, well, that's it. I'm done. So
you're not done.
I'll know how back.
Side note, this, I just looked up where it was on the map, and it looks like the names around that area look like exactly where I grew up. Dartmouth, Tiverton, Taunton, Portsmouth.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know
that
was in the UK.
Yeah, Falmouth.
All those are in the UK?
Oh, yeah, Bristol, Somerset.
I knew Bristol and Somerset. Yeah. I didn't know Taunton.
Oh, yeah, Taunton's a town. I think it's in Devon. Yeah, Devon.
See, that's where I'm from. I'm from Taunton. And then I moved to Far Road. And
Swansea's in Wales, Newport.
So this place, the best way to describe it is it's
Sorry.
like the AIDS got in your room and threw up.
Oh, I like that description.
It's just the most apropos way I can describe it. It was like My Pet Monster designed a toy store. And it fits because if you remember, I think I sent you the picture of me with Teddy Goods interviewing him like a couple months ago. I was holding his belt and had like My Pet Monster in the middle of the logo.
Yep, I think I remember that.
Yeah, with Kane. It was the day I met Kane.
Yeah.
So I love that belt. That belt is so fucking awesome. But yeah, so they basically took their I guess their uncle or their grandfather had a store called Joe's Toys, which of course I would approve. It's been around for like 30 years. They didn't want to rip him off and he's like out of the game. So they came up with Kojo's Toys. And it's like an homage to their uncle, but also one of the owners' names mixed together. And
That's cool.
Yeah, but so the place I expected it was on Ethan Page's vlog multiple times. Ethan Page is a fan of the store.
I mean, I can see why looking at the photographs.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's deceptively stocked. So it's not big. I was expecting big because I saw the Masters of the Universe thing on pictures many, many times, that Castle Grayskull wall, which is like resin, by the way. It's beautiful.
Wow, that would be heavy.
It's super heavy, like super fucking heavy.
Yeah.
And it was printed and all that shit. Like, because I knocked on it and I was like, oh, I thought it was like hollow. No, it's gorgeous. And it was like the first thing they got. The owner told me, he's like, I cried when they brought that in. It was donated. And I was like, holy shit, that's one hell of a donation for somebody to bring in. And so that's like the centerpiece. And then they also have like a Mario pipe, but it has like,
so cool.
It's like a fart pipe because it has like it makes like fart noises. So it's just badass. It's predominantly wrestling merch because Teddy Goods is a wrestler. And but then there's so much stuff mixed in between. I saw Transformers, I saw G.I. Joe, I saw Remco old wrestling, I saw Superpowers, I saw Gargoyles from the original Gargoyles. I saw all this vintage stuff that you don't see very often. And just impressive. But it was probably no bigger than, I'm looking in my living room and my kitchen combined.
So it's funny. I'm looking at the 763 Purchase Street, New Bedford, Massachusetts. I'm looking at the outside of it, and it doesn't look very wide, all things considered. But I'm basing it solely on the width of the door.
It's a little deeper than the door.
Yeah.
But it is packed to the rafters. Every inch of that store has merch. And it's incredible. Like, if you look also outside, the flag, I didn't catch it until the end. Like, the toy flag is the old LJN logo. So, like, they took their, like, they pay tribute to so many toy brands, the way that they, market their store. It's wonderful. They're great people. Teddy wasn't there. Teddy Goods wasn't there. He's obviously wrestling. Yeah. So he was probably touring or doing something, traveling in the indies or whatever. Because he doesn't predominantly do AEW, he does a lot of the indies. I think he does MLW, if I'm not sure. But, he does a lot of those promotions in the New England area and elsewhere. So his cousin runs the store when he's not there. So he had to call Teddy like 3 times because I had to ask for prices on things. And he's like, oh, shit, I don't know. He's like, Teddy does all the wrestling. And, of course, all I'm picking out is wrestling. He's like, let me call him. He called him like 3 times. He's like, Joe wants to know. He's like, I can just tell Joe it's this. And I'm like, oh, he's getting annoyed at the end. I'm like, all right, stop calling him. But I ended up picking up, my only thing I picked up, dude, first of all, there was so much shit in there. It was like a dog trying to find which fire hydrant to piss on. It was just so overwhelming.
That is a fantastic fucking analogy.
Thank you. I'm full of them. And so it was just overwhelming. I was like, I had like Cody Rhodes in my hand at one point. I had The Undertaker. I had a Ronda Rousey. I had a Macho King. Then I had a Matt Cardona. I had I just kept going back and forth. I had the Miz and not the Miz. I had MJF and Punk dog collar 2-pack with the real chain. I had a Razor Ramon. Then I had some G.I. Joe stuff. It was like, I didn't want to go too crazy because, rent week and all that shit. So I was like, okay.
The thing is, if you limit yourself to one or two things,
Yeah.
you're just that much safer, because otherwise you're going to end up with, well, I've got no limit. I'll get all of these things.
Exactly. And that's what it almost turned into.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed CM Punk. I grabbed the AEW unrivaled Walmart exclusive CM Punk, and it's the one with the AEW hoodie where he's in his trunks instead of his long trunks.
Yeah.
And Punk figures are getting really tough to find, obviously, since, he's gone. We'll talk about that a little bit after this. But yeah, so I am I don't know if we've talked about this, but I am a massive fan of the Major Wrestling Figures podcast. I mean, it's right up my alley. I've been a fan of it for about 3 years now. It's Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. They used to be Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins in WWE. And, I just love Matt Cardona. Ever since he reinvented himself on the indies, he pulled like a Cody Rhodes, but like he's not as like prolific as Cody Rhodes. Like Cody Rhodes came back as the conquering hero after the indies in AEW. But Matt Cardona is like his moniker is the indie god. So I had a Matt Cardona figure from Super 7 in hand, and it was his first version. His second version comes out a couple months from now. I have that pre-ordered. And I was like, yeah, I want this figure, but I kind of want like a more grittier version of him. And that was the only one that they have right now. So I didn't end up going to Matt Cardona because it was signed. And I kind of have a rule. I don't like to pick up wrestling figures that are signed unless I get them signed in person.
Because you don't really know you don't know it's a true signature. I mean, you can reasonably assume.
It's just I want the experience with it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have an attachment to the signature if I wasn't there getting the picture and the signature. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like I did all the work for me and I just picked it up at the store.
I do. And the thing is, for me as an open box collector, I'd be like, oh, cool, it's signed. I'm still opening it and probably going to throw the package away.
And
so
that's what I was going to do. And my buddy Billy, oh, wow. Yeah. While we're on the phone, I'll keep chatting. You need to see my buddy's collection. I went over there yesterday to watch football, the opening football.
Oh, is that Dallas versus the Giants?
Well, that was last night. That was garbage.
Okay. I heard the only reason I know that is because I heard the score was 40-0. And I was like, there's no way that's it.
Yeah. So this has got to be one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. He hands down has the best in-person collection I've ever seen. I'm sending it to you.
Sure.
Hands down, without question. I concede him. I concede to him.
Jeez, so if any of you listening also watch Displaying Model Behavior, think of Dave's old setup before he moved to Japan.
Yes.
I don't know what the new setup looks like. I haven't really watched it in a while. Not that I don't want to. It hasn't come up on my feed for whatever reason. I keep forgetting to actually look for him.
Yeah.
I'm going through a phase right now of things that are coming up my feed. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. So it's driving away a lot of the stuff that wouldn't normally come up.
Yeah.
So yeah, my feed is a mishmash of things you would expect me to like.
My friend Billy, we actually started as rivals. We used to go to the same toy store that like I would go and trade my stuff in when I'd sell, and he'd sell too. We started out as like friendly rivals. He was like, well, do you have this? I'm like, yeah, do you have this? And it would just like build. And my cousin Steve, who's the Peter Griffin impersonator, Stevie Oaks, they're really good friends. And somehow we all became friends. And like, that was my first time being over there yesterday. Man, let me tell you, I just kind of watched the cabinets while the game was on all day. I just could not stop staring at these cabinets. He has so much rare things. He has even like preliminary artwork for most of these toys. Like, it's insane what he has. He has like the old WWF Hasbro Ron Rudat, what's it called? Design drawings for like turnarounds for like the old Hasbro figures. Like, unreal shit. He has some of the Motu original artwork. He has Toxic Crusaders original artwork. One of the things I never knew as a big Sam Keith fan than I am, I didn't know Sam Keith drew Toxic Crusaders.
I didn't know that either, because the art
Yep.
style is not what I was pictured for.
Yep. I did
yeah.
not know that Sam Keith drew Toxic Crusaders. I was like, what? Because they had a comic with Marvel for a little while when they first out. And
Yeah, I think I knew that.
Playmates had the license and whatever. Super 7 has the license now for Toxic Crusaders. And it just so happens my friend Billy does principal photography for Super 7. So, like, he had a lot of Super 7 stuff there. He had a lot of, like, the Super 7 Turtles, like, test shots and shit like that. Real cool stuff. And it was just really awesome. But the most impressive part of his collection is his WWE wrestling collection. It is fucking unbelievable. He must have about 450 WWE elites, something like that. And then he has the original Hasbro series, all out of the package, of course. But he has every single one of the original vintage Hasbros. Like, I think there's like 70 of them. He has all of them with the ring. You know, he has a lot of stuff. It's just very interesting. And I loved watching toy collections. You know what I mean? That's like one of my
it's just
getting
fun
around to displaying my stuff finally. So.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. I know you said you've been in there for a little while, but it's been.
I've been here almost a year. It'll be a year and 3 weeks.
That's insane.
I know.
I thought it had been several months. I didn't realize it had been that long.
It's been a year. My dad's birthday, I moved in, and I might be moving out on my dad's birthday this year, going to a smaller place, but much better price, much more amenities, and it's safer. I think I told you off camera about the coyote attack and all that.
Yeah, you did.
That stuff's still going around, and like I need Brady safe. I need me safe, and I found a friend of mine. He has a 5 family, and I'd have my own entrance. I have my own apartment. I have my own washer dryer, and everything is half of what I'm paying now, with everything included, including internet. So
I feel like it would be kind of foolish to not do that.
I'd be super foolish. Plus, I get a hot tub, a full like $15,000 hot tub with a grotto and a rest area and a pool and a media room and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I would be kind of stupid not to take this.
For sure. So
it all hinges on how Brady gets along with the cat, because their aunt passed away and they're retaining the cat. The cat is living in the apartment downstairs right now. So if Brady gets along with the cat, it's good to go.
So if Brady gets along with a cat, are you moving in with a cat?
Yes, I will have a cat. I will be a cat owner, which will be very interesting.
How familiar with dogs is the cat?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, they have 2 pit bulls and a terrier. So I mean, I know it's familiar with dogs. It doesn't get along with those particular dogs, but
I think the thing is too is any animal, if you just put them in a room together and just say, hey, you're friends now, it's not going to be easy. Like we have 3 cats. None of them are litter mates. We have the 10-year-old cat, and then the 2-year-old and the 1-year-old. The 2 youngest are half siblings, and also aunt and nephew, because the youngest is inbred. You've seen pictures of them. But like, so even when we got the 2-year-old, we kept her away from the 2 we had at the time for quite a while. Almost 3 weeks. Like we wouldn't let her run around the house by herself unless we were there, just in case. Because we didn't want her to get a fright from one of the other 2, or the other 2 to take a hating onto her. We were lucky when we got the youngest one, because he came from a house where the cats were a little bit more hostile to him. So he didn't necessarily give a shit that the other 2 weren't super fond of him, but he was really affectionate to them right away, and it kind of just broke down their barrier of, we don't like you. Oh wait, you're just a tiny little baby that seems to like us. So we were really lucky with how quickly they all got on. And now the youngest 2 they're inseparable. Like you turn around at some point and they might be fighting across the living room floor, just chasing each other back and forth. And then the next thing you know, they've curled up and I don't know where one begins and one ends. So like the thing is like you said, you obviously know, like introducing any animal to each other, you always do it carefully, right? So
there's a risk. I mean, Brady gets along with cats for the most part, but I'm like, it would be just my luck he doesn't get along with this particular cat, and then
Yeah.
blows the sail. He's a little shit.
Yeah, I mean, he is, but I also think that he's probably wants to avoid the coyotes too. And if he gets along with cats already, like keep them separated for a couple of weeks, as long as he doesn't try and murder him, then we're good to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he should be fine. It's just I'm a little worried because he's a little snot. I'm giving him peanut butter right now, so he doesn't start barking. But so that's the situation. I hope it works out. It'll be interesting to move again on my father's birthday. 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't beat $1,000 versus $2,100.
No, you really can't.
And that's more toy money, but that's also more like living money, like more to like go and take trips and shit. So
yeah, no, I do.
But yeah, so I'm excited on that. I look at that Wednesday. But as far as the toy store goes, I recommend it to anybody who comes here. Anyone who's a fan of anything of the 80s, go there. He has every single IP you can think of, even like Robin Hood. Like,
do you know what? I was looking at the pictures on the website, and I thought I caught one of the Prince of Thieves figures in the background. Yeah, exactly. I could be wrong, but the fact you said it is now giving me confirmation bias because I flicked away from the I flicked away from the site. So
So and like when you go there, you're supporting a local business. It's different than going to pick up something from Walmart and Target. There's going to be a markup. There's just is because they got to make money. So I bought my Punk figure. He cost me $50. It's ironic because I just grabbed the same one off eBay for $30 the night before. But I was like, I'm impatient. I want, if I see it, I want one opening to have in my hand right now. And I also told myself, well, the one that comes in the mail, I'm going to keep on card with the other.
I was going to say, like, if one's on card and one isn't, well, then there you go, right?
Yeah, so now I have both versions. I have the original version with the long trunks and the Larry hoodie, the Larry the dog hoodie. And then I have the Punk with the AEW hoodie with the trunks and the microphone. So the only one I'm missing is the, what is it called? The Supreme AEW Walmart exclusive, which sold out in minutes this week. It like went up in the middle of the day at like 4:00, and I caught it on Preternia. Like, Twitter popped up on my notifications, but I was working, and by the time it was last week, sorry, I was working, but by the time I got there, it was like 5 minutes after the notification. It was sold out.
That's
like
nuts.
It just sold the fuck out.
Yeah,
and I knew
that's
it was
nuts.
Because it's technically going to be his last figure.
Yeah.
So
you know what? It's funny, like, we obviously all know what happened, and if you don't, Punk was fired from AEW for reasons. Right. I'm sure there'll be another figure of him somewhere down the line from someone. Like, I don't think you've seen the end of him.
No, definitely not.
But I think you've seen the end of him for a while.
I don't think you'll see him in wrestling for quite a while.
No,
because I think he's going to tie AEW up in litigation.
Yeah, like I hope not.
That he hasn't come out and like flame them yet. I figured he'd scorch earth like with his words. Mm-hmm. He hasn't. That just tells me that like he's lawyered up.
Yeah, something's going to go down, and I don't know what it is, and I'm curious to see what's.
I'm very curious. Listen, I am very, very biased. I'm a CM Punk mark to the end. I have been. I agree that you cannot attack your boss anywhere in the world. If you attack your boss, you're fired, and with rightfully cause. But we don't know. I haven't seen the CCTV footage. I'm not going to speculate and say that he attacked Tony Khan. I didn't see it.
No. And the thing is, until you see it, or until like someone who is, I'm going to say it, and you can hate me all you like, but until there's someone more reputable than a dirt sheet reporting something.
Yeah.
Right. Like, all you can really go off of what CM Punk is going to say, what Tony Khan is going to say, and that the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you, the more I'm reading about it and the more I think about it and the more I see like the pundits talk about it, like online and not online, but on like the YouTube and shit, I'm very convinced the Bucks set him up. It's It's Punk's problem. It's Phil's problem ultimately because he has such a shitty temper and a short fuse, and he just doesn't know how to play nice with people. But the Bucks clearly didn't like him.
No.
And a lot of things that happened leading up to Wembley. They were supposed to have a full massive sit down with everybody. And I say the Bucks because I don't see Omega as part of this. Omega seems willing to play ball. He's much more business oriented and much more of a genuine human being, I feel. The more I learn about the Bucks, I do think they're fucking children. Even though they're successful children, they're children. When they went to Collision in Chicago and did a victory lap off the camera, that Punk was gone, like after Tony's announcement, that shit's ridiculous. You're the fucking management. You don't do that shit. That just shows how immature they are. Because FTR's pissed about it. FTR's fully in Punk's corner. They love Punk. Danhausen loves Punk. A lot of people. Speaking of which, I ordered my Danhausen figure. I can't wait for that. I love Danhausen.
I can't believe he's been out as long as he has, but I know he's injured, right? So there's only so much you can do with an injury, but still.
He's coming back. But poor guy, he got interviewed by Denise Salcedo. The weekend Punk got fired. He got interviewed in Chicago at Pro Wrestling Tees, and she's like, "So, who is your favorite, wrestler?" And he's like, "Oh, that's easy." He's like, "Pepsi Phil. He's my favorite." And she's like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, best wrestler in the world. Great guy, really good, very nice." That interview aged like shit because like 3 hours later, Punk was fired and all this crap came out. And this girl releases it the next day, and it's like, listen, maybe you shouldn't have released that part of the interview. Put Danhausen in a crap light. Like he's defending him, going like, "Oh, great guy, good backstage, very nice to everybody," and here he is, kicked out for fighting and all this shit. But yeah,
I mean, the thing is, anyone can have a bad day, and it definitely seems like
he has a lot of them.
Yeah, and Punk definitely had like 2 bad days, and it ended up with brawl out and brawl in. So
yeah, exactly, brawl out and brawl in, pretty much. And then he had WWE, and he's had it. The only place he didn't have a problem was ROH, but he was much younger in his career. He was much younger in his career.
It's just like you're younger. Maybe he doesn't have the ego that he had. I don't like. I'm not trying to speculate because I don't know.
I think he has a massive ego. Let's just be honest.
I mean, yes, I also agree with that.
I love him. I absolutely love him. There are people who have egos and have talent, and he has both. He is a top draw. And the funny thing is, people can't say he's not.
Oh, no, he's definitely a top draw. It's just whether he's whether his draw, the power of his draw is worth keeping him around. And
exactly. I would agree.
I think Tony Khan, the answer was not anymore.
No, and Tony Khan did everything he could to appease him. He gave him his own goddamn show.
Yeah.
He let him walk around with the real world title. I mean, he did. I'm not going to say anything that Tony Khan did not ingratiate himself. Like Tony Khan certainly bent over backwards for him. And I know that probably stoked the EVPs pissed off even more too, because, he was getting special treatment. Let's face it. But also, let's face it, too. He's more of a draw than the Bucks will ever be in their entire life if their career spanned twice. Because he is a marquee guy. And it sucks because now I still don't get Punk versus Omega. My one dream match in the world for the past 10 years, I still don't get it because I don't see them doing it. And like you said when we were talking with Matthew, I don't think he's going to land in New Japan, even though I would love it. Because it's the one place he hasn't gone. That's a big draw. I just think with their working relationship with AEW, I can't see it happening.
It's a possibility, but I don't see it being a thing.
No. I think he could go to like an MLW, a GCW. He could go to all the indie feds that are around right now. The problem is it would have to be indie feds with deep pockets because he's not going to be cheap. He's not going to be fucking cheap at all for a small program. And like they have to weigh out the option is it going to be worth, mortgaging our business to bring him in
for a couple shows, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what he's going to do. He could do commentating. He could write he could write comic books. He could do films. He could do a bunch of shit. He's
think
also one of those guys who didn't blow his money. He's a frugal guy. He's not, $10,000 suits, multiple cars, all that kind of shit. He's not that guy. So he could live comfortably. AJ's doing good too. She's a #1 New York Times bestseller twice over.
Mm-hmm.
She's on Heels on Stars, that wrestling show with Stephen Amell, and so is Punk. Punk might go back to Heels, so who knows? I don't think he's going to find a hard time working. I think he'll be fine. It's just,
I think so. Like, I don't think he'll because he's like we said, he's a draw no matter where he goes. It's just what's he going to do wherever he goes. So.
And the big question on everyone's mind is, does he return to WWE in Chicago for Survivor Series in November?
I think if he does, then you're going to see the AEW stuff. Just that'll be the end of it. Like, there won't be, because you're not going to tie up your previous employer in litigation and everything when you're trying to work for their direct competitor, because then you're just pulling AEW's name along with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably trying to keep quiet. He's trying to find out what his options are, and maybe a few months down the road, then he'll say, "Hey, here's my statement on what happened.
Yeah,
I was wrong. I was wronged." It's going to depend on, I think, a few things, but I don't think we're going to see anything from him for a little bit, and maybe that's for the best, right? Like,
definitely. I could see him in Chicago for Survivor Series.
Yep.
It would be poetic, because I don't think his particular firing comes with a no-compete clause. He didn't get released. He got fucking fired.
Yeah.
They terminated everything with him. They also terminated all forms of business with him, which was really telling too, because he had something else going on that no one was aware of. I believe he had creative control. He was getting paid on that dime too. And yeah, well, he was creative control for Collision. So that was where the whole Jack Perry thing came in. Because Jack Perry was on Collision, and he's like, listen, you want to do that shit, go to Dynamite on Wednesday with the Glass. And that's a rookie move of Jack Perry inciting him.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think Jack Perry was put up to it. I really think the Bucks are like, oh, he's such a hothead. Let's give him something to bite on. He'll do it. And I think what really, conspiracy theories abound here. I think, in my personal opinion, they led him to believe that they were going to have the sit down with him right before Wembley. All the way leading up to it, they canceled it very last minute before they flew overseas. I think that's stuck in his fucking craw. Like, you little shits. We were going to sit down and do business like men. And they took off to Wembley with they no-showed. So I think it was just a combination of everything. But as I was going to say, shame on him. If he ever listens to this, I adore CM Punk. He's on my Mount Rushmore of wrestling. He always has been. He's been a favorite of mine for so very long. Shame on him. He's the veteran. He's been around this game long enough to know when to fold and not to bite. And he bit. He took the bait. He took the bait like a moron. And it sucks, because now I don't have CM Punk on my TV. And Tony Khan's certainly paying for it, because Collision is in the toilet right now. The people who
it's funny, I haven't actually watched Collision since before. I haven't seen the one since before All Out. Like, I just haven't caught up to it. Like, I'm still, for whatever reason, just been really busy, so really behind on everything like that.
So they got Danielson running Collision now.
I think that's probably a good. I think give him a couple of months, and that's going to be a really good show.
I love Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Now, Bryan Danielson and Punk, I put them together in the same draw marquee in talent, but I think Danielson is a much more level-headed human being.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just absolutely love Bryan Danielson. And he's already come out and publicly said on Collision, he's been saying this in interviews, this is his last year of wrestling. This is it. Because he told his daughter, Birdie, that when she turned 7, he would quit, because she asked him to. And he said, I don't want to be that dad who's not there for, her elementary school graduations, her soccer games, all that shit. So he's like, nope, I told her, that's it. But he had an amazing promo on Collision, and he's like, but if this is my last year, he kept saying if. So, the wrestling bug is a hard thing. It's an addict in a different way.
And the thing is, even if he goes to part-time, or maybe
That's what
his
they said.
daughter, right? Like maybe his daughter wants him to keep going a little bit, or maybe he does something. I mean, whatever he wants to do, like he's earned part-time, he's earned
That's what they said.
full-time, he's earned.
This is his final full-time year of wrestling.
Yeah.
But he's going to most likely not leave it behind completely, because Tony Khan said something in the All Out Scrum, which I thought was unreal. I think I told you I got a better version of Tony Khan watching that All Out Scrum, even though I didn't watch the All Out pay-per-view because the Coyote and my buddy Donnell went and covered it. Tony Khan seemed so much more at ease during this All Out Scrum. It was the first scrum I've seen in a pay-per-view in 2 years that Tony Khan just looked like the weight was off his shoulders. Like he was having fun. He was sat there for an hour taking questions after everyone was done. Like he just really, Tony Khan is the most passionate wrestling fan on the face of the earth, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
And what I said to somebody the other day, Tony Khan collects real life action figures. And he is playing with his federation, his Dream Fed. That's what these wrestlers are. He collects real life action figures. I collect action figures. He collects real life people in his collection. And he's so passionate about it that it gets in the way of him business wise sometimes, because he's such a fan and he wants to do right by everybody. But when you're the CEO, you got to have some big balls. You can't be shit on by your employees. You can't be embarrassed by your employees at media coverage. It's just not right. MJF, when he does it, it's his character. There's a total difference.
And that's just it. Like MJF can do it because he's like, for him, it's very much keeping kayfabe alive.
Exactly.
Like, he doesn't do anything. Like anything he says, you can clearly see. Okay, like he's being a dick, but he's not actually insulting anyone. He's not taking liberties at Tony Khan. He's not insulting the Bucks or Adam Page or anyone. He's being a dick and he's insulting the character. And like I remember watching the scrum after he fought Bryan Danielson, and he was exactly who you would expect him to be. But if you watched really carefully and listened to what he said, he actually gave a lot of respect to Bryan Danielson and never actually insulted the man. It was very much they said I couldn't do it sort of thing. I'm the best, etc. I think, but it was very much a that kind of promo. Whereas I feel like the one that we got with the scrum at Brawl Out was very much behind the business sort of thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like, I think you have a much better picture of MJF now that you watched that like pseudo documentary.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a pseudo documentary. So good. It was stupidly good.
Yeah, it's so fake. It's a documentary about him being in character against his it's funny as hell.
Yeah,
because,
so
like,
for those of you,
a house and like, oh god,
oh, so good. Like for those of you listening who, thank you for listening. Because I think we long ago forgot we were on a show.
Yeah.
Those of you listening, it's if you look up Kenny Johnson documentaries, it's on YouTube, and the show we were talking about is called Making MJF. It's either a true documentary and MJF is really a sociopath, or it's one of the very, very few documentaries on Kenny Johnson's channel where it's also a work, where it is a work of fiction and he's in on it. But because Kenny is such a good documentarian, like he's done one on Adam the Woo that was really interesting. He's done some stuff on other wrestlers. Like there's some really good shit on his channel. It hasn't been updated in a while that I could see, but it's well worth digging into. But so many of his stuff is very much a behind the camera. This is who this person really is.
Yeah. I'm fully convinced that the character that they portray as him being fake, like, you know how at the end he's like bullying him and badgering him, like being a complete dickhead to him on the street. Like, that's the MJF character we see on Dynamite.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the documentary is the real life him. but they're portraying it as the fake life him.
Yep.
And I think that's the brilliance of it. I think that's Max. And I think the reason why I'm even more convinced it's Max is because the part in that documentary you see is the glimpses of the changes his character has made over the thing with Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm.
They align so well with that documentary now.
And I
his
think
style of character.
What else you have to realize is, like, just looking at that documentary, and this kid was 21 at the time of this documentary.
Yeah.
The grasp he had on the character he plays.
Oh,
unreal. Like,
it's unparalleled.
Unreal. Whenever he would call himself a generational talent, and I'm not going to sing it how he does, I was like, you're just saying that 'cause it's some heel shit, and it's funny, but there's no way you're a generational talent. Yeah, I was wrong. This guy is.
No, I was wrong too.
Yeah, like, this guy is absolutely fantastic at what he does. He's really good in the ring. There has been a running bit in AEW where MJF will tease he's going to dive through the ropes for.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Oh God, it's been ever since I've been watching. He'll run the ropes, go to look like he's going to dive, and then he'll just keep running almost as an FU to the fans. And as part of the Adam Cole story, it's almost like he's been portraying as he wasn't doing that. He was doing it because he was afraid of doing the dive, and that worked out really well. But in this documentary at 21, so 5 years ago, you see him run against the ropes, and then he does a backflip over them, which isn't a dive through. Like, he'll do a backflip over the ropes. Yeah. And as he did it, he yelled out, "I'm better than you," and then landed perfectly, etc.
Yeah, like, he is so good in
how long had he been building up that bit to finally do the dive, right? Like for that dive to finally pay off at Wembley, there's no way he could have known that was the payoff that was coming. But he held on to it. It's something like that. Something as simple as that is brilliant.
He's so good. His mind is so many years beyond what it is for wrestling. Like, when he tells you I watch tape till my eyes bleed, I really believe him, because he fucking, like, he was on with Dave LaGreca from Busted Open, Busted Open. And it was right before Wembley, and they did like a live show with like a semi-audience. And they asked, one of the questions was, MJF, what do you have for advice for people? Like, what would you say they should watch? Since you study tape so much, what tape should they watch for aspiring wrestlers? Like, if you were to be an aspiring wrestler back then? He goes, well, first of all, I'm not an aspiring wrestler. I'm the greatest in the world. I don't have to fucking do that shit. He's like, but if I was an aspiring wrestler and I was, a ham and egger, he's like, I would say, watch Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions. Now, many people in that position, even older than Max, would say, oh, watch New Japan, watch Ring of Honor, watch WWE, watch,
anything I've been doing.
What's it called? PWG. Yeah. Watch, like Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, like watch Big Time Wrestling. Like, all the kinds of stuff that you hear, the commonplace wrestling. Watch CZW, watch, that kind of stuff. NWA. He's like, watch Smoky Mountain Wrestling, watch Jim Crockett Promotions. And they were like, really? And he goes, that's all I watched. He's like, I watched every little bit of it. And you can see a lot of Ric Flair's Horsemen and that era and those 80s and 70s throwback eras in Max's character. And he tweaks it so perfectly. He modernizes it. He just gets it. And, we all like flippy dippy shit. Like, I mean, I'm not going to argue and say the Bucks aren't supremely talented. They are. But like he said it on one of the shows. He's like, their stuff doesn't make sense. He's like, in the sense of a wrestling match, it doesn't make sense. He's like, the psychology of it does not make sense. He's like, it's flashy, it looks great, but there's no real depth to it, which is why you don't bite into the story. And he's right.
He is like how I popped more for MJF's kangaroo kick.
Oh yeah,
All Out, and like the double close. It's a fucking double clothesline. They're holding hands and hitting someone in the chest.
I know,
it's ridiculous, but
it works.
It works because of the build up. it works because of MJF's character. Like the kangaroo kick against Dark Order was the highlight of that show. I haven't even finished the pay-per-view yet, but I know I don't need to watch it. It's been, normally I'll watch it as I work, but because we're going down south, like as with anything, when you put it on when you work and it's on in the background, you inevitably start getting distracted and just looking down. I've been so stupidly busy all week that I just thought I can't have it on, because if I have it on, I'll end up delaying stuff. So like I've crammed like meetings and calls and everything all week for the last week to try and make sure I don't have anything left to do. Or that anything I do have left to do, there's nothing I can do to further whatever it is. Anyway, that's by the by. But the kangaroo kick to Dark Order, where the crowd erupted as soon as he got into that position, and he just turned his head. I get more of a kick out of that than Penta and Orange Cassidy's 3 Canadian destroyers in a row. That's incredibly athletically impressive.
I know. But that kangaroo kick, even when he puts his hands up in like the kangaroo position.
Yep. And like the way he bites his lip and thrusts his jaw forward is like,
he's just so good at everything he does. Like, he's a great singer. He's a great dancer. He has a generational talent. He's an everyman.
I get that Adam Cole is the veteran.
Yeah.
But this storyline with Adam Cole and MJF has been, without question, the best thing I've seen in wrestling in so long.
He is so good at weaving in. I think he must be like, at least has part of creative a little bit on his character, because he's so good at weaving in past life experiences from other promotions into his current promotion, into AEW. Like he did it with CM Punk, where he had the picture of him with Punk when he was 12 years old. And that was probably one of the best feuds I've ever seen in my life, when, you know, CM Punk had the dog collar in the middle of the ring and cross-legged, and he goes, "Max, for you, that was the greatest day of your life. For me, it was just Friday." Like, oh my God, that promo war was amazing. Well, he's kind of recreating it with Samoa Joe now.
I thought so. I thought it was kind of amusing that I saw the clip of Samoa Joe bumping a security guard that turned out to be a very young MJF. And I was like, this is interesting. This wouldn't have come up if someone hadn't specifically released it that knew it was going to be relevant. And then the next thing you know, at All Out, Samoa Joe comes out early and bumps MJF, who loses it at him. And I thought, this is brilliant. Like, if you haven't seen that little promo thing, like that little clip, 10-second clip, and it's from WWE, so it's not even like AEW can reference it. But so it's like this meta thing where MJF is pulling in anything, Samoa Joe is going along with it, and like you could see Joe's having a time just coming down grinning. Like, it's
great.
Oh no, it's Siri, fine. I got back into wrestling in part because of the flippy dippy shit, right? Like the Hardy Boys were always one of my favorites growing up. I always enjoyed the flippy dippy shit.
But who was your favorite? The Hardy Boys?
Because I got into wrestling like a lot more in the
2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s, and the Hardys were just like fresh at the time. And
I love the Hardys. It's sad to see them now, but I love the Hardys.
I mean, the thing is Matt, I think, is doing really well with what he can physically do. I think Jeff is okay, but they're not who they were 10, 15 years ago, right? And that's that. I mean, the thing is, are any of us, can you do the shit that you used to be able to do 20 years ago, right? Like, you can. And I think that's why someone like Samoa Joe or, you know, FTR, like that style of wrestling where it's or, you know, John Moxley, it's you don't rely on huge impacts, you don't rely on massive flips. It's very much like a ground based. Moxley is more of a brawler, right? Obviously he's not super technical, but you don't see them take to the high ropes, do flips, unless you see Cash Wheeler doing a 450. Where the fuck did that come from? You know, like, you don't see FTR doing many flips, and I think that's the kind of thing that's going to help them last a lot longer. And even then, you still see Dax's knees look like shit already. Like he's wearing knee braces all the time.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah,
school, territorial wrestling style, which I love. That's my favorite version of wrestling anyway.
And that's just it. And I think that's the kind of stuff that you can tell a story with way more than the flippy stuff. Like John Moxley doing the odd dive through the ropes is it's in character because he does it. Darby Allin has that stuntman personality against him. Like for some reason, when Darby throws himself at someone,
he'll be lucky if he makes
works. He's already 30, but I don't think he'll make it. Although he is very extreme about therapy and rehabilitation to his joints and stuff. So, I would say he's going to change his style eventually, but not for a while. But then you have someone like Sting still going, and Kurt Angle, who's retired and he's not even 50, he's like in his 50s, I think.
Yeah, I think he's 51 maybe.
Yeah, so like Kurt Angle is retired because of injuries he's taken, and then Sting, who's 15 years older, is done.
Yeah,
and I did see an interview with Kurt Angle where he said, "Yeah, my preparation to go out into the ring was just to just crack my neck a few times and swing my hips. Like I didn't warm up at all, so that's not."
No, I watched Angle's doc. I know we're all over the place, but this is fine since we're not going to be able to talk for a week or so.
Yeah.
Angle's documentary on Peacock is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tragic story, but it's unbelievable at the same time. I didn't know how much he went through. Like his trainer got murdered, and like from the Olympics, and like it's very much the reverse of any WWE documentary. It does not focus on WWE until like the last 30 minutes of the documentary.
Oh, cool. I didn't see that. I saw an interview with CVV, Chris Van Vliet, I think, with
Chris Van Vliet. Yeah. It is so good. Watch the Angle documentary. Mm-hmm. Because I'll maintain that Angle did some of his best work ever in TNA, where he was high all the time. He was addicted to painkillers so bad. He got 4 DUIs in the span of like 4 months or 5 months in TNA. He was off the rails. He was doing like 60 painkillers a day because he broke his neck twice in WWE. And like he did painkillers and he just became so addicted to them. And he had a rule that he wouldn't do them during the match or before the match, but right after the match and the TV was off, that was his time. He would do it all the way up until he had to go to the arena. And he was doing like 60 a day. And he was talking about like how he did it. And he's like, I don't even remember a lot of the years in TNA because he was just like blacked out all the time on painkillers, even on TV, like where he just was like going through the motions.
It's crazy how prescription painkillers can be so addictive to people, and yet you're giving them to try and help you feel better after a surgery or whatever, right? Like
right. But he was so gifted, and he still is gifted, that he could go on autopilot and still put on a 5-star match. Like he was just phenomenal.
And yet Brad Meltzer never gave him a 5-star match.
Which I hate Dave Meltzer so much. Uncle Dave.
I said Brad, not Dave. Yeah, but
Brad Meltzer is the New York Times bestseller who did
that's exactly
Identity Crisis with DC.
Yep. It's funny. I knew Brad Meltzer was a name.
Meltzer, right. Yeah. Where he made Dr. Light a rapist. That was like one of the most questionable things on DC Comics that has ever happened. Where Dr. Light raped the elongated man's wife, Sue Dibney.
Oh, Sue Dibney, yeah. I don't know if I knew that, but
it's such a good story, but it's such a dark story. It's a fucking dark story. But it is a very good one. However, back to the track, Angle.
Are we even on a track?
Yeah, Meltzer never ever gave him any type of 5-star, but he's given the Bucks like 6 stars.
Mm-hmm.
He's given, any New Japan match is like a default 5-star. Like he's just one of those guys. I don't know. And I don't know how he has so much clout in the wrestling business.
It's because he's been around for when you're around that long, people assume you're doing something right, whether that's true or not.
But he's the guy who is like the weatherman for wrestling. He'll make a prediction that he can't be wrong at. You know what I mean? He'll be like, rumor is that Jeff Hardy's going back to the WWE, but it might not happen, but most likely it could. And people will bite on Jeff Hardy's going back to the WWE. And then, like it doesn't follow through. And he'll be like, I didn't say that. I said it most likely could, but it won't. And like, so he's always protected. And I'm sitting there going, he's such shit because like he never takes a leap and says, this is what my sources say. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are you even crediting this guy? He's a half. He's like the most well-known wrestling ever.
It's like at least when we make a prediction, we stand by it. For the most part, I'll switch. Like if the argument is convincing, I'm happy to switch and change my mind.
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna say, well, I think that Kenny Omega is going to do this, but maybe he won't. Maybe he'll do this instead. Well, that's
so that
three predictions in one.
That's not wrong. It's like it's so stupid, and people still. That's why every time I see anything that says Wrestling Observer newsletter, I'm like, no, fuck it, because it's never concrete. Like according to him, Randy Orton was supposed to be back like 5 months ago.
I've heard so many rumors that Randy Orton's retiring.
So have I. I've heard that the doctor said he's supposed to. He should. But they also think that they're going to bring him back because Bray's gone. They need another star. Oh, I don't know if you heard. Since this is going to be a wrestling podcast, folks, today. Did you hear, and this is breaking news today, Matt Riddle accused the TSA agent in JFK Airport in New York of sexual assault?
No.
Yep. So he flew in today or yesterday. He put out an Instagram post that he deleted very quickly. But however, you got wrestling fans that follow your shit all the time.
They're going to screenshot everything
you ever do before you to cut it down. And they did. He said, he was sexually assaulted and touched and all this and that. Now there's an investigation going on to it. Because the cops are like, that didn't fucking happen. And also, we have cameras everywhere and this and that. And like, so he deleted it. It's very telling he deleted it. I expect WWE to future endeavor him. I think they're going to wait for the official result and then they're going to drop him. He's been an issue with them for a while now. He's been an issue with rehab. He's been an issue with, the wellness program. He's been such an issue with them that he, unfortunately, I think he's hit like what he's worth versus the headache. Like it's a CM Punk type of thing.
At some point, right? Like it's at some point, no matter who you are, if you're more of a headache than you're worth, they're going to let you go. And CM Punk had more chances than I think Matt Riddle was going to get.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, Matt Riddle's had about 5 already. So, he was accused of sexual assault himself. There's all kinds of things that's been happening with him over the past couple of years. He had the public breakup with his wife because he was cheating on her with a porn star. He has, he had the cocaine issue. He had the weed issue. He had all kinds of shit. So he, I think he's going to be gone because they've been de-pushing him for a while anyway. If like he's phenomenally talented in the ring. He comes from that world of MMA. He's so talented and athletic. But I don't think he's a top draw. And I think they'll be all right if they let him go. And yeah, if he gets picked up by AEW or Impact or something, I don't think WWE's going to sweat it. So
no, like it's not like say if Jey Uso or Cody Rhodes left WWE back, right? Like like
LA Knight. Like they couldn't afford to lose LA Knight right now.
Even if they haven't been pushing it, well, I know they're doing a bit better now, but even if they hadn't been pushing him, you can't afford to lose LA Knight. But Matt Riddle was like, Matt
Riddle, it's like he's mid card.
Yeah, he is.
And I like Matt Riddle. I'm a fan of Matt Riddle in the ring. I'm not a fan of Matt Riddle as a person because he's just too much of a mess. And there's always too much issues. So, like, that's one of those things. You'll see. I think he'll get future endeavored. That's my guess. Because Triple H don't play that shit. I think Triple H isn't going to want the press on this, and he's probably going to be like, you know what, fuck this. It's kind of like what happened. What they went through with the Velveteen Dream in NXT. when it turned out he was talking to young boys underage and all this, and they let him go like ASAP. And that was the right move to do because, they don't need it. WWE is a very public company. AEW is public too, but like WWE is the standard. Let's just call a spade a spade. AEW is the Arena Football League to the National Football League. So, you can't, they're not going to put up with as much. You know what I mean? And they have an amazingly stacked roster. They can afford to lose some fat. Like Matt Riddle, yeah, he'll probably kill it on the independents and, otherwhere and other places. Like, I would love to see Matt Riddle versus Will Ospreay. I think that would be a fucking amazing.
Yeah, agreed. I think it would be really good, but I think there's no doubt who the star of that should be.
Oh, Will Ospreay.
Right? Like, I also want to point out that we were only going to record for half an hour, and I think we said at the beginning it's going to be half an hour, and I have time. Like,
I do too. I have a little more time, so let's roll with it.
So, but yeah, like there's been moments where we have clearly forgotten where we were, and what we were doing. So, folks, if you're still with us after this long, we appreciate you.
Thank you for being along with the ride.
Yeah, this show has been very much a return to roots for us in terms of we don't really know what we're talking about. Like, we didn't have a plan. And
our third co-host keeps us honest and earnest. He keeps us right on track.
Right, like the last couple episodes with Matthew has been like, oh yeah, fantastic. No, we've been doing great. Like, he's been, we've been doing exactly what we need to do, and this has been, like, I'm calling it now. This episode is Return to the Tangents.
Definitely.
The last episode was Return of the Toys, and this is Return of the Tangents.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
I don't even know what we spoke about, other than
I know what we spoke about, but I don't know how we connected the dots.
No.
They went everywhere. But so like we'll do one more wrestling thing, and then we'll go right into a little bit of toy news, and then we'll probably call it a night. So being back in the wrestling toy collecting, I made a purchase today. I had no choice. I want you to look them up while you look up PowertownWrestling.com while I'm talking.
PowertownWrestling.com.
Yeah, all one word, Powertown, and then wrestling.com. It's a toy company. They do independent wrestling figures. They are beautiful.
That's so what Matt Cardona and
I ordered it.
Yeah, understandable.
I fucking ordered that all day. It is so gorgeous. That is the spitting image of Matt Cardona and Brian. And I love the robe and everything. But not only that, I couldn't get. The only reason I ordered it today, I had to order it in advance because I was like, I'll play the long game. So if you look at Powertown Series 1, they're all sold out. But it's all the legends. It's like Magnum TA. It's Kerry Von Erich. It's
Stan Hansen.
Vern Gagne. They're gorgeous, though. Yeah. They're so good. Like, they make the Mattel Elites look like trash.
Like, they look like they would fit with them stylistically, but
they do. But they're so much more detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I ordered the Super 7 Matt Cardona, and it doesn't look anything as good as this. It looks decent, but it looks like a cartoon-ish character of him. Like, look up I'll send it to you from BBTS actually right now. Brady, will you stop? My dog is just wild tonight. Isn't that Matt Cardona and Brian Myers gorgeous?
Oh, it's unreal.
I know, and it's expensive, $100, but you know what? Like, look what you're getting. I mean, there's just no. Now, this is Super 7, mind you, and this is for one figure, and it's like, okay. I like the Super 7 figures, I do, but don't tell me that this is on the same par as what you got with the other saw.
One. Yeah.
Here. There it is.
I said there's just enough of an awkward pause here that I'm going to leave in because it's delightfully awkward. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's
He
not.
looks awesome. I love the ring gear and the spikes and shit.
Yeah.
This is nowhere near as good as that Power Town wrestling figure.
No, it's not. Like, I like the ring gear is fantastic.
Oh yeah, and the title and the middle finger, that's awesome. But just look at the face sculpts. Yes, you can tell it's Matt Cardona. You definitely can. But it's like a representation caricature of Matt Cardona.
It's not the same as the guy that looks like the other link. Was it Power Town Wrestling?
Yeah, it looks like a wax museum
statue.
It
looks like a Hot Toys is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it looks so good. Yeah, that's the render, but they also have the prototype that looks just like that, and it's like, man, like I'm all for it. So
it's nuts. It's absolutely
nuts.
But
look at the price at the Super 7 for one figure.
Yeah, like it's
it's 3/4 of what I'm paying for the whole set.
Well, the so looking at it Canadian, it was $140 for the other one because it showed it in Canadian pricing.
Oh, okay, and yeah, it was.
This is like 75. The Super 7 75 American. So to me, I usually read that as around $100, if not a bit more, like at about 25%. So, like, the thing is, even if it wasn't, like, even if that was 75 Canadian for the Super 7 Matt Cardona, the other option is still better because you're still getting it for a few bucks cheaper. Like, is it as cheap? No. But it's still cheaper than what you're looking at otherwise.
Right, exactly. It's just, I mean, so yeah, I'm all in. I'm hoping they get more licenses for Power Town. Like, I'm hoping they get more like I'll be honest with you, WWE lost the Macho Man license. They lost the Randy Savage license.
I didn't realize that was a separate license.
Lost that about a couple months ago, so that's why they canceled the new Ultimates that's coming out. All the Randy Savage figures for Elites and everything are going up in price because they lost the license. They don't know if the Poffo family's or the estate's gonna give it back to WWE. I suspect they will because they're the ones that will pay the most for it. But I think WWE is gonna try to play hardball with it, whereas he's not a current wrestler. They're gonna try to lowball them a little bit and do a Legends deal and whatever. They'll get it for a cheaper price, but it will still be a very good price.
Yeah.
However, I would kill to see like a company like Power Town get the Randy Savage license.
Could you imagine? Even if it's a case of Power Town have it, they paid a bit less than what WWE would have, but it gives the family the opportunity to say, look, we're not afraid to go elsewhere.
Right. But I mean, that's my hope too, is maybe they do like a CM Punk figure or whatever. Like, oh my God. Like, this is the new wrestling. Like, it's like the Mezco wrestling versions. You know what I mean? They're just so premium that I'm like, oh man, I'm all over these. And the robe looks stellar, that soft goods robe, compared to like what you get from Mattel soft goods robes.
Yeah.
Like the Mattel soft goods robes are bad. Like the Cody Rhodes that I almost bought. I found the Cody Rhodes. Now, the Cody Rhodes goes for about $150. The Ultimate Cody Rhodes everywhere online, $150 to $200. He was at Kojo's Toy World for $95, brand new. I almost bought him, but I have the AEW Supreme Cody Rhodes, and that's such a good figure. And Cody doesn't have any like WWE logos on him. His gear did not change from AEW to WWE.
It didn't, and the figures are the exact same. Right? So
exactly. So like you can fudge a Cody Rhodes from AEW in with your WWE. It's
100%. Yep.
So yeah, like I don't know. I mean, that was my purchase today. My purchases. I think I shared with you, like you and Matthew. I shared the Edge that I picked up a couple weeks ago.
I think you did.
Yeah. So I got a Bray Wyatt, the Fiend.
Oh yeah, you did, yeah.
I got him. I got an Undertaker and Joker coming.
Yeah, because that was before the brawl, whatever. So
and then I got MJF and Adam Cole for AEW. I got my Punk figure, and you know what figures I really want for AEW now? I want the House of Black 3-pack. So
I see. I would actually get that.
fuck, they look so good with the masks.
Yeah, like
Oh,
that's the kind of thing that I'm genuinely considering, because it's like you would need Julia Hart, but I'm genuinely considering the House of
yeah.
Black because they work as just a creepy group as well.
Oh, they work is just like anything in your display.
Yeah,
They're just so good.
and
like so.
like
Mhm.
so just to pivot to them quickly, I hope that you don't see Malachi go on a singles run. I think the only reason he would want to do it in character is to prove he's better than any of them, and then just go back and do his own thing. That, oh, I don't need the belt. I just had it because I wanted to show that I could win it, and now I don't want it anymore.
I would love to see Malachi, Tommy End go on a singles run because I think he's so long overdue.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got shafted so bad in WWE. He had main event potential all fucking over him, and they just didn't know what to do with him. Buddy Murphy, who's now Buddy Matthews, AEW's done a great job of showcasing them.
Yep.
And Brody King, man, he is a guy that is so deceptively talented. Like, for
have you
his
ever heard his
size.
band?
No, he's a band.
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
I gotta check him out. I love watching him toy hunt.
Yeah,
I think it's hysterical because he's a massive mountain of a man, and he's like in there just as excited as all of us.
right.
I just love watching him.
He's fantastic. There's an interview I saw with Renee Paquette.
Sessions.
With Brody. Yeah, the sessions of Brody King. He's just a dad. Like, he's so nerdy. He's got his glasses on and he's talking about stuff. Yeah. He's talking about his God's Hate is the name of the band, by the way, if you want to check it out.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna check that out. I like the way Renee changed it to the sessions from oral sessions.
Yep.
It used to be oral sessions with Renee Paquette, and they were like, "You got to change that." And she's like, "Fine."
Yeah, it's hilarious, but yeah.
But like, so AEW, like for Jazzwares, and I'm enjoying this podcast. So anyone listening, I appreciate it, but I'm really enjoying this like romp through. AEW Jazzware figures, they're so hit and miss as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
They have not done a good Moxley yet. Their Moxley is awful. I don't know why they can't get his face. I saw the Bryan Danielson yesterday at my buddy's house. It's decent, but I want the ROH American Dragon Bryan Danielson, the throwback with the robe and the American Dragon hoodie and the robe. Oh my God, I can't wait for that to come out. So they're doing that. I already ordered. I'm hoping it doesn't get canceled. I ordered the ROH CM Punk with the blonde hair and the shorts.
Do you know what? I can see them not canceling it because they know it's going to be money.
It's already gone through. I've been charged for it.
Yeah, see, I think it's too late to have canceled that. And the thing is, if any contract he had would have included, like, I'm not a lawyer, full disclaimer, etc. I assume any contract he had, like, for that would have been signed off on pre-firing. So that would have been a case of, hey, any royalties you'll still get it from this figure, but anything after this, we're done.
Yeah, I don't think, like, I'm surprised the screen geeked out, and I think it's only going to be a one run. Whatever is out there now, once it's sold out, I don't think they're going to release another wave of it. I think they're just going to be like, all right, well, that's it. Because you can't really fire a guy and then keep releasing his merch.
No,
I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works.
I don't either. Like, it's different if, like, say they lose a guy because he, has an accident or passes away, like, and you still sell that much, like, because some people would want to get like Brody Lee merch or I can't think of any other wrestlers who have passed immediately off the top of my head, but
Bray Wyatt and Brody Lee.
Yeah, right. Like, so people still want to wear Bray Wyatt stuff. They're still wanting to show respect and honor those dead wrestlers. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me if you would keep the merch on if a wrestler's passed away. But if someone's been fired, well, that's you're choosing to end your relationship with them.
Choosing to cut ties with the entity and the IP and all that. So
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's that. So yeah, I got the Danhausen coming. I'm very excited. I got the Danhausen with the wired cape. I also have the Danhausen and the 2-pack with Hook, just in case that Wired Cape one didn't go through, but it did. Danhausen's got like 5 figures coming out.
Danhausen Hook 2-pack?
Yeah, it was an Amazon exclusive. You can have the Hook. I'll give it to you. I don't like Hook.
No, I'm just more astounded that that's a 2-pack.
Well, because Hookhausen.
What?
They did Hookhausen for like a couple weeks.
I didn't know that. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
They're a tag team called Hookhausen.
That's hilarious.
So yeah. Yeah, pivoting from wrestling completely. Those are the ones I've ordered. I'm excited for them to do like more. You know, they've got a bunch of stuff coming out, but it's like, oh, it's a dangerous game because there's like, I mean, I was at my buddy's house yesterday. I'm 450 behind. You know what I mean? It's like, gotta pick and choose. That's why it's easier for me with AEW because I can just herry pick who I want. You know what I mean? There's a few people here and there. I do want an Orange Cassidy, but it's got to be the one with the cloth goods jacket and pants. I don't want the sculpted pants. I want the cloth goods ones where he can put his hands in his pocket. I want those. And that was the first version. So I got to track that down. But like most of them, they don't do right. Like Britt Baker, they do okay. MJF, they kind of nailed. Adam Cole, they nailed completely. I'm convinced that they just stole the WWE Mattel and said it was AEW.
Just grab the same mold.
It's absolutely the same. It's insane. So like the face is just unreal. Cody, they did really good. Jericho, they do good, but like they struggle so bad with like Mox. Eddie Kingston looks awful. It's a horrible figure. The Bucks look terrible too. Omega looks all right.
John Moxley has the kind of face that would be very difficult to get to capture a likeness of because he's very expressive, right? Like he's
probably moving around too with the motion capture.
Yeah.
He's squirreling around. So last thing, we'll switch and pivot. We did talk about the HasLab last time we were on, and I don't know if you checked it, but it's over $4,000.
Yeah, 4,229 as of today. So today, like by the time this comes out, I fully expect that to be closer to 5, if not surpassing 5. So, folks,
it's going to be a slow burn now.
I think you're going to see a slow burn. It's going to make it to 10. I think no doubt it's going to get funded. I just think you're going to see a much slower climb for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden at the end is FOMO starts kicking in, and you're going to see it. I have no doubt you're going to see another 10,000 people back, or sorry, another 10,000 units sold.
I think so. In the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we'll hit 20,000.
But
we're not going to get any more, reveals. As a matter of fact, I didn't get to tell you. I'm always on Dan Who every couple of weeks. We do like adult show and tell.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan King joined us on the stream randomly yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. He's a very good guy. He's really nice. He joined us from the D23 Expo. He was just on the floor and he was like bored, and he loves Dan Who. And so this is the thing that I like. The Hasbro team, say what you want, but they keep their ear to the ground of what's going on in the figure community.
Yep.
They lurk in all these like live streams, like Unparalleled Universe, Dave Displays Model Behavior. They're in all of them. And
I have no doubt they're on Reddit forums too about action figures, Marvel Legends.
Yeah, they know their shit.
Yeah,
and they hear the complaints. And like he was very genuine yesterday. And I have a funny feeling. You and I said this, that PulseCon is going to have some Giant Man themed figures.
Yep, I agree.
It has to, because I mean, if you think about it, the X-Men came out with the Sentinel. You had the House of X wave.
Yep.
Fantastic Four Retro came out with Galactus when it was revealed.
I truly think you're going to see. I think you suggested it, or you put it in my mind, whether it was your idea or not. I don't remember, but you suggested there's going to be a deluxe Giant Man 2-pack.
Oh, I would love that. I brought that up. I don't think it's happening because he's kind of like, oh yeah, that would be good, but like genuinely, like it didn't. Like he wasn't ready for it. Like it wasn't something cooking.
Right.
I think what is Wasp and Yellow Jacket.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like Giant Man is not my cup of tea. Totally not my cup of tea. However, for the people that are into the Avengers and are into Giant Man, I am super happy that you all are getting this, and I really hope that you get some kick-ass figures going forward over the next, revealed over the next few months.
Honestly, all I want is like I have this vision in my head. Now I keep a lot of stuff in box most of the time out of laziness.
Yeah, you're not an intentional inbox collector. You're an inbox collector because you're too lazy to open it.
It just gets away from me because I'm like, ooh, what's over there? And then I like squirrel brain and I go and pick up something new. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's not like I'm like, oh, I want to keep this mint on card forever to preserve it. No, it's like, oh, I forgot I have that. That's what happens. But I have this vision in my head of a display of Giant Man punching Galactus in the face. Like that to me is just really cool.
That would be hilarious.
That visual. And then someone stole my idea yesterday. X-Manny and Dave displays models behavior. I guess it's not a great idea because they thought of it too. But remember I told you on the stream, which predates their stream, I told you on the recording that like the pose I want to do the most is have him down on one knee and his arm open, holding up another figure.
You did, yep.
They said the same fucking thing. I'm like, God damn it. And everyone in the chat was like, oh, that's such a great idea. We would have never thought of it. I'm like, I thought of it, you asshole.
Yeah, I was like, how could, like, it's a great idea. And yeah, you definitely said, like, I know we released the recording on like what, the 3rd? Yeah, we did release I don't know when we released it.
No, it was a few days ago.
Yeah, so it was released on the
Sunday,
10th,
yesterday.
So
the 10th. Yeah, and the stream that I watched was like last night on the 10th, and it was like talking about, yeah, that would be an awesome pose to have, him kneel down on one knee and then have the wasps. It was the exact thing I said. I said, have him hold the wasp in his hand on a flight stand, and like fucking they were like, oh, that's a great idea. And like, but I guess it makes sense because with all this articulation, your mind can go to places now. Like
you can do what can he do? What can you see him doing, right?
Yeah, Galactus has old man hips. He can't really bend down much. You know what I mean? He's not going to do much.
No, and I think that's fine for Galactus, but I feel like Giant Man did tend to crouch a lot more as well, right?
Yeah. So like for Giant Man, I have to get a soft goods lab coat. That's going to be a quest.
I think you're going to be able to find a lot of them coming up once people know exactly how big this guy is.
Yeah. And then he talked about the other thing was too, because people are like, oh, people on our stream who was, part of our stream was like, hey, due to the failure that was the Engine of Vengeance, I wouldn't have worded it that way to Ryan Ting. This guy in our stream was like, hey, Ryan, hey, big fan. Due to the failure you guys had, that was the Engine of Vengeance. I'm like, oof. He's like, does that really put you guys off from doing vehicles now because of seeing Giant Man having so much interest? And Ryan Ting was like, well, we learned from he's so good. Dan Jung is on the head. You can trip him up and he's going to say something stupid. Dwight might just get salty at you and be like, fuck you. Brian Ting is like the consummate professional. He knows how to spin things and he's very good at keeping in the company line. And he's like, listen, and he said the best explanation that I could come up with, and I agree with him. He's like, I think every Hasbro team has found their own lane. He's like, G.I. Joe have found their lane with the vehicles, 6-inch classified vehicles. And he's like, and it works for them. And it's a smash. He's like, Star Wars have found their lane with the 3 3/4 stuff because it seems to be the only stuff that gets backed is, the Ghost, Razor Crest, et cetera, et cetera. He's like, our wheelhouse seems to be oversized, giant, mega characters. And I think he's right. But the thing he threw me off with, he's like, and we've got so much more to go with those to choose from. Who though? I only could think of like 2. Like Atlas and Sang Foom.
I feel like this is a question that we're going to have, or that we're going to answer down the road. Like, I don't think it's one that you and I could answer now because, well, mostly because if we tried to answer it now, we'd be talking for another 2 hours.
Yes.
Right. So I think that it would be interesting to explore who else they could do and see how right we are in the year, in a couple of years when they re-announce. But there's definitely a few I could think of. And then there's
Office,
probably a few more that we're not thinking of. So we said it already. Fing Fang Foom.
Atlas.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably half a dozen people who have been Giant Man over the years as well. You know, Goliath, Hawkeye, right? But then you've also got like Frost Giants from Thor. If you wanted to do that,
But couldn't you do those like Serta size?
you probably could. But again,
Yeah.
if you're going to do it big, like maybe they don't do it at 24 inches. Maybe they're like 18, where they're slightly bigger than normal, right? Sorry, the cat just started doing something in the background.
That's all right. He's being a pain too.
Yeah. Sorry. So like, you know, maybe you have like an 18-inch Frost Giant, or you have Comic Serta or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So like I really can't with any other than Fin Fang Foom, Atlas.
I mean, you could do a master mode. If you really wanted to, you could do master mode.
To rehash of the Sentinel. You could do what's it called? A Celestial, but that's a rehash of Galactus.
Yeah. You could rehash a Sentinel too, really.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the first ones, and I think that would fund again if they, you know, if they changed it just enough where it still fit with the other one. Maybe a slightly shorter version. I don't know.
You could do Apocalypse, like a really like true to scale, like giant sized, crazy sized Apocalypse. You could do. The one I think would be the most interesting and the most challenging for them to pull off, and I don't think there's enough fanfare behind it for them to choose, but I would be interested to see them tackle it, would be Ego the Living Planet.
I also would be interested, because I'd be curious to see what they would do with it, whether it would just be a painted beach ball or something different.
Yeah, right. Painted beach ball with a little bit of craters.
Yeah.
No, like how would you do that? And it would have to be
it would have to. Well, that's just it. Like, could you imagine Ego versus Galactus as a display?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, but when he said, "Oh, we've got so many more, you know, those mega-sized characters to choose from," I'm sitting there like, you know, my Marvel stuff pretty good. Like, who are you talking about?
And who could possibly get funded?
Yeah,
like, because you need to get at least 10,000 people. I'm assuming about 10,000 people to be interested in whatever it is you're going to put out.
Yeah, I want to explore that. That's another stream.
Yeah,
maybe do it when it gets closer to the HasLab closing.
I think that's a good idea, because if we're already starting to go down that route now, and I can already feel my juices burning. So we'll put a pin in that. You know, that's my work hat talking. We'll put a pin in that.
I think we'll put a pin in this completely. You know, obviously we'll talk off stream. I want to,
of course,
do a safe trip, and you know, I hope you have a blast. I want pictures, but
you know that coming. Oh, absolutely. Folks, you know where to find us, and if you don't, I'm sure you probably don't care that much anyway, but you can find it in the show notes, Spotify, SoundCloud, graphicpolicy.com. It's out there. We don't know. Yeah, let's just
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.